The third topic, next topic that we have taken is Electricity Amendment Bill 2021. Right, Electricity Amendment Bill 2021. Now people usually say that we don't have to study bills, but this bill has created a lot of uproar. It has generated a lot of noise from the opposition, and that is why it was into the news a lot, and that is why we have taken it. And most importantly, the currently what a bill gets proposed, it usually gets passed and becomes an act. If there is any kind of amendment to the bill, I will certainly take that up. Okay. Now we will take this opportunity to study the Electricity Act 2003 as well, and how it has been. And apart from that, we will try to understand what are the challenges that our electricity distribution companies, DISCOMs, are facing right now. It was in news because there has been a lot of uproar regarding this Electricity Amendment Bill. Okay. Now, this is a very important picture that explains the kind of problems that our whole electricity generation, distribution and transmission grid system is facing. The problems can be classified into three: operational, managerial, regulatory and political, and technology. Regulatory and political, why? Because electricity or energy is one of the very contentious political issues, right? In a country like India, where the need for energy is ever growing, because we are developing, okay? So our need for energy will be constantly growing in size. The second, importantly, we have the largest grid in the world, and still a lot of areas do not have the access to electricity. The third point is that it becomes a political agenda, because every party promises some kind of freebies or some kind of subsidies to the consumers, and that leads to the politicization of the whole issue. Now let's look at the operational and managerial aspect first. Inefficient cost optimization due to high dependence on legacy power purchase agreements. Now, what is this legacy power purchase agreement? Okay, this comes under operational and managerial. Operational and managerial. Now, what is a power purchase agreement? See, this point is generation. Okay, this is transmission. Okay, and sorry, this is substation. This is distribution of power. I hope you understood this. Generation from the thermal power plant, for example, or solar or wind, transmission, and then distribution, right? So what happens is, there is a certain company that is generating power. There is a certain different company that is transmitting power, and there are multiple different companies which distribute power. Okay. Now what happens is, there are certain kind of these distribution companies, they have made power purchase agreements for generation companies or transmission companies. Take it. Now power purchase agreement means, for example, the distribution company enters into a contract with the generation or the transmission company that I will be purchasing power from you at a certain specific rate for next 20 years or 25 years, right? But what is the problem? It actually helps. It helps in load forecasting, for example. It helps the thermal power companies decide how much power should they generate. How much power should they generate? It gives the power generation companies some kind of reliability and stability for a certain period of time, right? If they have to purchase certain kind of power, and that will definitely be purchased by the DISCOMs. But what is the problem? It creates issues for the DISCOMs. Why it creates issues for the DISCOMs? Because, for example, in 1991 or 1990, a DISCOM entered into a power purchase agreement with the generating company, and they said that in 1990, for example, the inflation was different, the value of rupee was different, right? Everything was different. But they will be entering into an agreement at that point in time So making a futuristic assessment of inflation will be very difficult. So they will be settling at some midpoint, and they will be making an agreement that we will be purchasing power at rupees 5 per kilowatt, for example, very hypothetical, rupees 5 per kilowatt. Okay, and we will be purchasing at least 1000 megawatt per year, for example, megawatt hour for megawatt per year. So this is the purchase agreement. But fast forward like 25 years, and for example, this power purchase agreement is for 40 years. Fast forward 25 years, the cost of generation is rising, right? The distribution needs are increasing, number of users is increasing, right? So sometimes, most of the time, what happens is inflation is increasing, everything is increasing, right? So this power purchase agreement, that rupees 5 per kilowatt, becomes a loss for the DISCOM, as they might be purchasing at rupees 5 per kilowatt, but the actual cost may be high. Okay. So they will be paying, they will be like, they are having this legacy means previous, older power purchase agreements are leading to loss to the distribution companies. Okay. Similarly, inadequate fast ramping capacity in older generators. Okay, this is a technology part. This is a part from technology, or it can be said it is also from operational managerial. Since the demand for power has risen, if the thermal generation, if the generators are not able to ramp up their capacity or to meet that demand, then of course the cost of supply will be rising. Okay. Moreover, the distribution companies are heavily dependent upon what the government subsidies as well, because government is cross subsidizing the power tariffs. Now, what is cross subsidizing? We'll be looking into this in a great detail. First, let's go through this. Now, current status of DISCOMs. If we look at the cost structure and the revenue structure, so 77% of the cost structure, that is the cost that distribution companies are facing, is for the purchase of the power, and 8% is employee cost, 7% interest cost, and total is, if we look at the cost, it is 7,12,610 crore rupees. Okay. Now let's look at the revenue. The major revenue is coming from operations. Operations means of course the delivery of power, right? The tariff subsidy is the second important, tariff subsidy, right? Regulatory income, that is not important. Now you can see the cost is higher than the revenue. The cost is higher than revenue. That means the most of the DISCOMs are having higher cost of operation, and they are having lower revenue realization. Okay. The gap between average cost of supply means what is the per unit average cost that DISCOM is having for the supply of power, and the average revenue realized increased from 0.54 kilowatt to 0.72 kilowatt in 2018-19. Okay. See, you can see that in 2017-18 it was around, this is about losses. Now ACR versus ACS, okay, ARR versus ACS. If we look at ARR versus ACS means the difference between the cost, the difference between the cost for the DISCOM and the revenue for the DISCOM is constantly increasing, and now earlier it was 0.54 rupees per kilowatt hour. Now it has increased to 0.72 rupees per kilowatt hour. And if that difference increases, the losses increase. Why? Because that difference is the difference between the revenue and the expenditure that the DISCOMs are making. Now you can see in 2011-12, the losses of the DISCOMs were around 80,000 crore rupees. After the implementation of UDAY scheme and a lot of other revamped power distribution scheme, and these schemes led to a benefit for the DISCOMs, and the losses fell to around 30,000 crore. But due to the COVID, okay, the the demand has risen and certainly the discoms are not able to supply, right? So the losses for the discoms have increased from 2017 to 2018, and as we can see, there has been a lot the discoms condition improved from 2011 to 2017-18, but the COVID situation has worsened it further. Now, what are the major challenges faced by the discoms? The first one is cross subsidy provided by the discoms to specific groups. Now, what is cross subsidy? Cross subsidy means if we are charging one certain group of people more and we are providing subsidy to other group of people. Okay. Like farmers are provided subsidy for the use of electricity for their irrigation purposes, and the industries are charged at a higher rate. This is cross subsidy. Okay. Non-rationalization of tariff structure owing to political pressures. Despite the fact that cost of transmission or distribution of electricity has increased very much, but the tariffs that these companies have, the tariffs have not increased. The rate of electricity has not increased. Why? Because it becomes a political issue. Okay. So it becomes a political issue, and every political party faces a hard time increasing these tariffs, as increasing tariffs is a non-popular political decision. High aggregate transmission and AT and C losses. Overall AT loss is 24.54%. Such high overall AT and C losses, aggregate transmission losses, okay, in India is very high, and that is due to the, for example, a lot of losses occur in the transmission and the distribution systems, inefficient transformers, lack of capacitor banks for power factor correction. All these factors lead to what? High AT and C losses. That means this loss can be reduced only by making technological intervention. Technological interventions like increasing the strength of the grid, okay, or increasing, implementing the more power factor correction capacitors. That means we need to upgrade our grid. We need to upgrade our distribution system. Electricity theft, okay, poor management and lack of competition among the distributor, which incentivizes the inefficient discoms. Since there are no competitors in the market, so the discoms are enjoying the monopoly. They do not have an incentive to improve, okay, because most of the discoms are, despite the fact that most of discoms are in the huge debt, they are not improving their managerial staff. They are not improving their distribution staff, right? Now, if you look at the AT and C losses, world average is 8%, and India's average is around 25, 24 and 22% in 2012, 16 and 19. That means India's average in AT and C losses is very high, and that can only be reduced by technological interventions. Now, if you look at the India's average, 20%, around 22%, okay, and now if you can see, the states like Delhi, Kerala, Punjab and Himachal, they are having lower AT and C losses, right? Because in Delhi, for example, the distribution is being done by private companies, and they will like to reduce their losses to maximize their profit. So they have invested heavily into the distribution infrastructure, right? And that is why the quality of power in Delhi is good as compared to the other states. Whereas in other states, you can see, for example, Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Arunachal, Nagaland, Madhya Pradesh, Tripura, Meghalaya, Uttarakhand. All these states are not having the sufficient upgradation of their power distribution infrastructure, which has led to high AT and C losses. Okay. If you look at the tariff subsidy, this is India's average. Okay. The tariff subsidy means the revenue generated by the discoms through tariff subsidy. Okay. Because this is a very strong legacy issue. Why? Tariff subsidy is given by government. Taxpayer is providing tariff subsidy, right? And political parties are using that tariff subsidy to their own political advantage, and that is leading to inefficient utilization of funds. You can see in Nagaland, Arunachal, Manipur, in these states, Jammu, Kashmir, and all these states, there is even very higher tariff subsidy provided by the government. Okay. That also of course reduces any incentive for the discoms to become competitive. Okay. Now let's see what the Electricity Act 2003 actually says. Section 14 talks about grant of license. Now what is grant of license? Grant of license means, as I said in the very beginning in the one of the picture, generation, transmission, distribution. This specifically talks about distribution. It says that the appropriate commission, basically State Electricity Regulatory Commission, Electricity Act 2003 establishes State Electricity Regulatory Commission in every state. So State Appropriate Commission may, on application made to it under Section 15 provides for the procedure of making an application that we do not have to study. Grant a license to any person, okay, to transmit electricity as a transmission license, to distribute electricity, a distribution license, or to undertake trading in electricity. There are three kinds of licenses. That is, the first one is transmission license, the second one is distribution license, and the third one is trading license. Provided, now this is important clause because this is important because we are going to see this is important because Electricity Act 2003 says that if one specific distribution area is having more than two distributors, that both of as many distributors as apply can be provided license, provided that they fulfill the certain criteria. But the problem with the certain act was that they should distribute electricity through their own distribution system within the same area. That means, for example, if we consider a district, so if a district has, for example, 3 distributors like Tata Power, Reliance Power, and some government body or as well. So if according to the Electricity Act 2003, it was meant for all these distributors to operate within that specific area, they have to set up their own distribution infrastructure. They had to set up their own distribution infrastructure, right? For example, if Tata Power has to deliver power, they will have to set up their own transformers, poles, electricity, like wires and everything, right? So that was the main problem and a hurdle for the distributors to distribute electricity. And Section 62, the tariff determination, talked about the appropriate commission may fix tariff for the following: supply of electricity, transmission, wheeling, retail sale of electricity. But again, the point that we are going to observe importantly here is the case of distribution of electricity in the same area by 2 or more distribution licenses. The appropriate commission may, for promoting competition among distribution licenses, fix only maximum ceiling or tariff. Okay, according to this section, the appropriate commission can set up a maximum tariff above which the companies could not charge. That was the clause 62 or section 62 of Electricity Act 2003. Now, why that was made? It was made because in one area, if more than one distribution companies are operating, okay, if more than one distribution companies are operating, they will try. There will be a competition among these 3, right? But they can what they can do is they can start predatory pricing. Predatory pricing. Okay. Predatory pricing means, what if this body lowers its tariff? What if this body lowers its tariff? What if this body lowers its tariff even more? So that will be a spiral down the bottom. It will be a race down the bottom. In certain cases, a situation might arise where they might be offering power at a rates which are not even financially feasible to out the other competitors. And there was no restriction in the original Electricity Act 2003. There is no restriction in original Act 2003 against the predatory pricing. but there was a restriction on the maximum tariff that these companies can charge. Okay, so let's see how this act is going to change all these things. What are the amendments proposed? Section 14. The act requires, now what the act, Electricity Act 2003 requires is that they should distribute the power. If there are more than two distributors in the same area, they should distribute the power through their own distribution network. But the bill proposes the amendment that if there exists a distribution network, okay, then a certain distribution can use that distribution network to deliver its own power to the user on a payment of certain charge. Okay, that means the restriction of using their own distribution network has been removed. Right, now it will promote more competition, because if the distribution grid exists, if the distribution network exists, all one company has to do is they have to pay the owner of the distribution grid. In the most of the cases it is the state discoms. Okay, they will have to pay the state discoms a certain amount of money, and then they can use that distribution grid for their own purpose, of delivery of power. That is the first amendment. The second amendment, power procurement and tariff, it says that upon grant of multiple licenses for the same area, okay, the power and associated costs for the existing area, okay, what for example, if one company was distributing power in one area, right, if another company comes in, so that company is already having its own infrastructure, its own grid, and the power distribution, when the new company comes in, the new company will have to share the cost of the distribution of power, right? It says that power purchase agreement, because the specific distribution company which was already operating inside that area, they will also be having some power purchase agreement, right? Now what happens is, a new company comes in. That new company is not going to set up its own network of distribution. That is only saying that, okay, the existing company, we are going to offer this specific power that you are already offering at this specific rate, and it advertises in the whole area. If people want that, I want the power from the new company, okay, then they will not be paying the old company. Now the old company is having power purchase agreement with power generation companies, right? So the new company will have to share the cost of these power purchase agreements in the proportion of the users that it is getting. Okay, that is what the new amendment proposes. Under the act, in case of multiple discoms in the same supply area, SCRC is required to specify the maximum ceiling for tariff. Okay, the bill adds that the SCRC will also specify a minimum tariff for such cases. If there are more than one operating entities in the same distribution entities in the same area, then a maximum and minimum tariff will also be decided by the State Electricity Regulation Commission. Now cross subsidy balancing fund has been established. The bill adds that upon the grant of multiple licenses in the same area, they will set up a cross subsidy balancing fund. Okay, and this fund, for example, two companies are now operating, okay, in one specific area, and one company is majorly serving the cross subsidized people, right? For example, farmers. So its revenue will drop, right? Because because the power is getting subsidized. So, but the other user in the same area will be serving, for example, domestic customers. So that is not power, that is not subsidized. So they might be earning more revenue than the other one using the same infrastructure. So they will have to contribute a certain portion of their earning into the cross subsidy balancing fund, which will be used by the government to fund the cross subsidy. Renewable PPOs, RPO basically, renewable purchase obligation, empowers the State Electricity Regulatory Commission to specify renewable purchase obligation for discoms. It is already there in the act. The bill adds that RPO should not be below a minimum percentage prescribed by the central government. Okay, now this was already in the act. Renewable purchase obligation is already in the Electricity Act. The bill adds that the RPO should be not below a certain amount of power that the discom is distributing. Okay, and it also imposes fine if that. Now this one is very important. Selection selection committee for SERCs. Earlier what happened was, earlier the chairperson of the Central Electricity Regulatory Commission, CERC, was the chairperson of CERC was one of the members for nominating the members to state electricity regulatory commissions. Now that power has been taken away from the chairperson, and now the central government will decide to nominate a member in the committee who will be looking for the chairperson of or the members of the state electricity regulatory commissions. That is, every state has a state electricity regulatory commission, the members of who are appointed by the governor, of course, but the state electricity regulation CERC chairperson was one of the members who was into the appointment committee. Now that person has been taken away, and instead the central government will specify or will nominate a member into the selection committee. He may be or maybe not the chairperson of the CERC, right? And the nominee should not be below the additional secretary to the central government. Okay. I hope you understood the amendments. If any kind of new amendments take place, if in case the bill goes to the select committee, okay, or joint committee of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and any kind of changes that happen, and when the bill gets enacted, I will certainly be taking up the bill again. Okay. So I hope you understood this, and this was very important. So if you have any issues or doubts regarding that, kindly connect with me in the comment section.